Surprise, surprise, surprise. I'm only going to be on for 5 or 10 minutes, guys. I'm going to let these gentlemen take over. I want to thank Jeff, first off, before we even start calling anybody out, coming on with short notice to fill in. And he's always got great intel. Jeff, thank you. And we're going to call out a few people, and then I'm going to turn the show over to you guys and get some rest. All right, Mike, how's it going? That's Mike Penny. I'm Doug Cuzma, and Jeff B. on the
What's
show
happening?
tonight.
Jeff, say hello to everybody.
All right, so we can take turns if you want. Let's do this. You know what? I got Fred from Las Vegas. Welcome to the show. Mike,
Colorado in the house.
Nebraska.
Jacksonville, Florida in the house.
Tennessee in the house. Escondo, California, and Tallahassee, Florida, also in the house.
Pennsylvania in the house. You're live on the Frog News Network.
Portsmouth, Virginia.
North Kakalaki.
Portsmouth, Virginia in the house. Cincinnati, Ohio in the house. Go ahead, guys.
California and New Mexico in the house. Welcome, welcome.
Hallelujah is right.
California.
Michigan in the house.
Count those ballots.
Oklahoma in the house. Mike.
Branson, Missouri in the house.
Ohio in the house. I heard it was 90 degrees there today.
Yes, hot. Very hot.
Don't give away your location. The black helicopters will come.
That's all right. That's why you wear one of these.
Federal Bureau, I guess.
Lee County, North Carolina, and Woodstock, California.
Surprise, Arizona. How fitting that is.
Sardis City, Alabama.
West Virginia, welcome to the show. You're live on the Frog News Network. A lot of things going on today, guys, and these guys know what's going on. I guarantee
Frog
you.
News Network kicking it in Mississippi.
Texas in the house. Welcome to the show. You're live.
Abilene, Texas. Drop down there and say hello to DJT.
Ohio in the house.
West Virginia. Yeah, I hope so. I hope everybody heard that. West Virginia in the house.
Columbus, Georgia in the house.
Maryland and Kentucky.
Pennsylvania, welcome to the show. You're live on the Frog News Network.
Goodness gracious. Maryland in the house with the Frog News
Man, we're
Network.
ready at 3,200, bro.
Sweet, sweet, sweet.
And Mike, I should have said this before we come on the air. Y'all got to watch what we say because I already been spanked off of Facebook. So you know how to go back to the code words.
Yes.
So that's what we're going to have to do. That's all I'm saying.
Operation Hoodwink.
Ohio in the house, the hot state.
Kentucky in the house and Wisconsin.
Alberta.
Fort Worth, Texas. Welcome. Citizen Journal. Richards posted all kind of stuff today, too. Cut and shoot, Texas. I love it.
Tennessee in the house.
It would even be better if it said fire from the hip. FBI in the family today. Virginia in the house.
Andrews, North Carolina, supporting the Frog Knights and the Frog News Network.
We just love you guys, and thank you so much. You're part of our family. We're taking our country back, baby. You got that right. Upstate New York in the house.
Dayton, Texas. Hello, hello.
Naples, Florida, by request.
All right. Florida in the house.
Indiana, rocking it out with the Frog Knights.
Kansas City, Missouri in the house, and Statesville, North Carolina.
Ottawa, Canada, and Louisiana in the house.
Chile.
That Chile guy is very faithful, guys. He's there every day, every night.
That place in Virginia, up the top of Virginia, they're in it every day too, right on the West Virginia line.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I haven't seen them. Wowza, Doug on the show just for a few minutes, and I'm gonna sit back, let these gentlemen take over, and get the rest I'm supposed to.
Asheville, North Carolina in the house.
I'm gonna go over how I'm feeling right before I turn it over to them guys, and we'll go from there. Ohio in the house.
Let's give it another
5 minutes.
No, let's just get another 60 seconds.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and kick it off, okay?
Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
Houston in the house. Dalton,
Wow.
Georgia in the house.
Well, I just seen Wales. Where did that go? Up the stream. 4,100 already. Wow. Cherry Point.
Go ahead.
That's a military base, I think.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Glad
United
to
States
see all of
Marine
y'all.
Corps.
Hit the like button. Go ahead.
Welcome everybody from Cherry Point, North Carolina.
Boom, North Carolina. And
I got a
Moab.
hoorah to the living room on that one.
California in the house.
Coolest place I ever heard of was Saudi Daisy, Tennessee.
Saudi Daisy.
Lower LA in the house. Lower Alabama.
Palm Beach, Florida, and Washington State. Welcome, welcome.
Pennsylvania in the house. How's that Secretary of State working out for you?
Whoop.
All right, all right. How many we got on? John from New
We got
Zealand.
4,000 on. So let me say my little thing, and I'll let y'all go, and I'll dive on out of here, guys. First of all, once again, thank Jeff for coming on short notice, and Mike for doing the show tonight. Hey guys, I'm going to let you know something, and I just shared this with them in the green room before we came on. Is all you guys that were in the chat and in Telegram talking about your praying for me and all that. Right before I went into surgery, I held my hands up and I said, God, let all them prayers come into my body. And I felt God. I really did in the prep room before I went into surgery. I got out of surgery. I came home. And all the glory to God. Since I got home, I haven't needed one pain pill. You see me in front of this computer. God's got other plans for me. And God was with me today. And I wanted to share that with you. And I want to thank every one of y'all. And I won't touch much more because I'll get emotional. And then my stomach will hurt if I tears start rolling down. Everything starts moving and everything's tight down there. But all I'm taking right now is Tylenol. That's it. Yes, my Facebook page was taken down. If you go into the Telegram group, there's a new profile. We, just like they would say in the military, I have countermeasures. I have other ways. We're right over the target. So, guys, thanks. I'm going to bow out. I love each and every one of you guys that prayed for me, even if you didn't pray for you. I love you haters. You keep me going. So I'm going to bow out. Mike, you and Jeff take over, and have a good show, brother.
Doug, bless you, brother, and let us know, man, if you need anything through the night, all right?
All right, brother. Thank you.
All right, Jeff. Jeff, you and Doug were discussing some current events before we went live. So you want to dive in and share with our guests tonight some of the current events going on?
Yeah. So today, mysteriously, was the Continuity of Government (COG) event in Washington, D.C. So a lot of helicopters, a lot of jets, a lot of military. Most of all the federal agencies were closed. They go through their rapid deployment plans on if something catastrophic happens in the country. Kind of ironic. I was talking to 3 people down in D.C. That work in the area, and they said all the troops pretty much were gone. Well, all of a sudden, all these buses show up again. So something definitely interesting is in the works. And then I was looking. I don't know if you ever look at Sotheby's auction house, and they have a real estate group as well that caters to multi-millionaires. And a buddy of mine at Treasury asked me to check out Dr. F's wife's name. And mysteriously, they just purchased in January 23rd, they purchased 3 houses in 3 different countries. So that's kind of interesting. I think one of them was Puerto Rico, Argentina, which that's interesting in itself for the 1942 crowd. And there was one other place. And we don't have a working extradition treaty with these 3 countries. I think England was one of them.
Right.
We do have extradition, but they're kind of flaky on who they send over because of our death penalty. And then I did see some reports, and I did ask some questions about there was a 60,000+ military group that basically they're snatch and grab teams. But normally we operate kind of on our own when it comes to that with DevGru, Delta Force, CAG. But it looks like some of our true allies are ponying up, like Spetsnaz, Sierra McCall,
Yep.
some of the other groups that looks like we may be doing some more roundups.
Yeah, not only roundups. I mean, that's a good way to put it right now, considering the atmosphere that we're in.
Right.
And I think that Richard, citizen journalist, put on a good show today, guys. And we definitely saw the cog in the wheel that he was talking about. It was very present in D.C. today. And moving forward, we also saw the enormous amount of troops that are still there and that had showed up out of the blue, so to speak, overnight almost. If you remember yesterday, he was showing pictures of U.S. government vans, U.S. government tagged vans in the droves on every street. And then today, and at the hotels, exactly right. Today they were very active at the Capitol building, okay? And there was a lot of back and forth between the Capitol building and the White House. So something definitely strange going on, other than the so-called administration doing their job. Okay, it's far from that. I mean, it is one heck of a sight to see if that's regular government running every day. Okay.
Yeah, that's not normal.
Exactly. That's the whole point. That being said, we also know today is the 20th. Quietly last week, it was leaked out quietly that the significant 20th date would be extended if need be, and of course that did happen because that is still needed. It still needed to be in play when we're talking about the Insurrection Act. Okay. I think that you'll see something more formal on it as we go forward, and it really starts to hit the fan. Yeah. Don't you agree, Jeff?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're out of the drip stage, and now I think we're going to start being fed, because all the news outlets are starting slowly but surely sneak their little one-line jabbers in there to kind of, seems like, prepare people for what's happening.
Yeah, I definitely think that a couple of them I've watched, and I'm not big on watching mainstream, okay, guys, but a couple of them that I've watched, because that's being said quite often by very good, reliable people, including Jeff, who's right here on the show live with us. So I've definitely watched, and I've noticed that the language has changed, and you could tell these guys are reading straight from a teleprompter, and they got caught. Several of them got caught off guard after they read it, as to what it was said, and it was very obvious that they're not only getting prepared themselves, but they're instructed to let it leak out to start the preparedness of what we're really going to see in the coming days.
Yeah. There was another. I think it's the mayor of Atlanta. She announced today that she is not going to be running, and she is at the end of her term, which I believe is going to be in 9 months. She's stepping away. I think we're going to see more and more of this, that they are being offered deals that they cannot refuse.
Yeah, absolutely. And the reason why they're getting those deals, guys, is that it is time to move this forward and keep the lack of bloodshed, which I say lack of bloodshed. I think it's an amazing thing that the things that we know for sure that have been accomplished, and there's been very little to none bloodshed of innocent citizens.
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of operators, former operators that I know that they're. I mean, I've been in operations where my last one I kind of really got screwed up and jump out of a plane at 40,000 and your heart stops at 6. And when you break the canopy, pops the valve pops back open. And there are a lot of guys that are really, really frustrated. You have to keep this in mind. This is kind of like where I go with this is if certain individuals want, and if that's the way the country wants to go, I may not like it, but I supported it as long as everybody's vote was counted and as long as individuals didn't select who they wanted and they wanted the voice of the people. Because there's got a lot of buddies bloodshed all over the world, maybe set up confrontations that we should have been in. But you have to keep in mind, guys like myself and a whole bunch of other ones, we didn't sacrifice 4, 6, 8, 20 years of our lives for some jackwagon that isn't even part of this country to decide who's going to lead our country. Because what you have to remember is, if you've never been overseas, foreign nationals love Americans. They do. They dislike our government. I mean, some of my best friends are foreigners, and I have a lot more. Shouldn't say have more respect for them, but in a way I do, because they know a true struggle. Until you've been outside, this country, you really don't realize how good we got it, and we're just seeing a small little snippet of what could be. I mean, when you can take down and censor the president of the United States, whether you like him, don't like him, agree with him, disagree with him, his voice shall be heard, because so many people have been sacrificed for that. And if the shoe was on the other foot and the Republicans were doing it, I'd do the same thing. I may not like the message, but your message needs to get out. That's why this whole, taking down channels, and you mark my words on that. That's going to come back to bite them. And it's going to come back to bite them really, really hard.
And not only is it going to come back really, really hard, it's going to come back. It's going to come back and bite them very soon, guys.
Yes.
We move closer and closer to the precip. One of the things that he was kind of alluding to, and tell me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but what I heard was former military people are to the point where they are ready to take up arms in the streets if necessary, if this doesn't get turned around real soon. And stupid stuff like 2-year-olds being forced the jab in daycares continues. I mean, the former military, they didn't sacrifice the time that he's talking about or loss of life for things like that to happen in their own country. That's not what they fought for. Okay, and it's not what they're going to continue to allow to happen. All right. So it's kind of hairy, scary, but it's also a time that it's a great time to be alive, because God is going to perform miracles right in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Right in our lifetime, guys. And we're going to be able to tell our grandchildren and the next generation about it. And it's going to be amazing. Okay. It's going to be amazing. We're going to have our own version of parting the Red Sea, and we're going to have our own version of those type events in days to come, where God rectifies and keeps his promise of delivering evil from the earth in 1,000 years of peace.
And some of the amazing things that, if anybody's worked in the intelligence community, you work on projects like this all the time. At the time, it seems meaningless. You don't understand why you're doing continuity of government in a certain way. And for me, this is probably the most exciting time ever because I have a pretty good idea of the outcome. Uh, it's not going to be for everybody. There's going to be, when the first shoe drops, and I've been told I hate times because everything is so fluid. But when the first big shoe drops, is going to be within a few weeks. Now, don't quote me on that because, like I said, everything is fluid. But when everybody goes quiet, that I talk to all the time, and it's not just one or two, it's all of them. That means something. They're doing it because they don't want to slip up and say something. Because everything is so compartmentalized.
It's right.
Crazy.
And it's not like when we had Achon and the boards back in the day when it first came around, where they could vent and open their mouth, and it was totally anonymous to a point. And those aren't there anymore. So they've removed those outlets for a lot of people that he's talking about because they could voice their opinion, they could get it off their chest, and it was basically a few anons and mostly them. You know what I'm saying? And it was uninterrupted, and it was their platform to do what we do on social media like Facebook and things like that. So we're at unprecedented times where everybody's looking for their outlet while this God's timing is coming into play. Okay, and that's the big reason why Jeff doesn't want to give you a date or even insinuate that it could happen in a certain time frame, because everything is so fluid, and God's timing is never going to be the same as ours.
Nope, not. And there's been in a couple of my businesses today that are in different locations. We had some internet issues. So I'm not sure if there's tests going on. I'm guessing. I know there's some definite banking issues. I mean, I normally, with one of my companies, we probably do $3 or $4 million every year in loans, just as working capital on that. Normally it takes us 3 to 4 days to get it. And I'm sitting at week 4 waiting for the approval, I guess you could say. And when I asked my banker, she's like, well, and I said, yeah, it's coming, isn't it? And she just gives a smirk. So a lot of your top bankers know what's happening. I mean, they have to see the warning signs.
Absolutely. They know. And I think that some of them that do know the specifics are under NDAs. Okay. And these NDAs aren't just your standard NDA, guys. There is a lot at stake. Okay. Humanity, basically. All right. And the future of a lot of countries, not just ours.
Yeah. Yeah. There are so many moving parts that people do what you wouldn't even think of. Electricity, water. I mean, just the essentials, having, because I can only imagine some of the red pills people are going to have to eat when they find out some of the stuff we've been lied to about. And speaking of which, I was telling Doug backstage when you were off for a second, did you see Trump's new ad that he's putting out about his rallies?
No, I haven't seen it.
All right. If you watch this ad, there are 2 gentlemen that they focus in on. In the background is a black gentleman, and In the foreground's the white gentleman. Tell me the white dude doesn't look like JFK Jr. I'm telling you, look, I something doesn't sit right with me.
Well, guys, I mean, a lot of people that are just joining the movement with us here in the Frog News Network may not know a lot of details. Like, we've got audio clips of Melania asking where Vincent Fusca was as Trump and her entered the rallies back before the election. Okay, when they were doing rallies real heavy. They would discuss between the two of them from Air Force One to the backstage area, where the JFK would be, okay, and who would his costume be? All right, I mean, and the audio, they're not very clear, but if you lip read it all, which is how we got the information, is somebody who reads lips, told us exactly what they were talking about. So I think that to pretend that JFK is or isn't alive anymore it's a matter of when is he going to come out instead of is he alive or is he, the question there. So, and he would, since senior is gone, he wouldn't be junior anymore. He'd be JFK.
Right.
So, guys, the time is coming. We're getting very, very close to learning those things, and the lies like Jeff is talking about. I mean, even we're going to have a hard time with some of it, okay, because it hasn't all been shared with us. Large chunks of it has, but it hasn't all been shared with us. I've seen pictures of 45. I've seen pictures of 45 in Area 51 when he was a young man. Okay, that's how far back this happening right now goes. Okay, people like Flynn, Charlie Ward, a lot of the people in the upper echelon of the movement were infiltrating, including 45, were infiltrating these groups way back then to figure out how to get this done right now. Because if they don't get it completely done, guess what? It's the end of their life on Earth.
Right.
Because the evil ones won't allow it.
Right. And you have to think too. And I struggle a lot with this. Some of the stuff that I've been made aware of, but in this type of environment, if you hear most of the times when you hear something for the first time, it's a pretty good guess that there's some validity to it. And all this information that's coming out, that's being dripped out, it's all strategic. And I can't reiterate enough, you have to really go back and watch some of the speeches that Trump gave. He drips little pieces out, and it doesn't make sense at the time, but now you'll start to formulate a picture. And you don't have to believe everything. You shouldn't believe everything.
Yeah, we gave you clues. We gave you clues of Trump's speeches after Jeff said that the other night, like when he called Adam Schiff pencil neck for the first time at a rally. That was the first clue that we knew Adam Schiff was taken out, because they're two different
neck.
Yeah, absolutely, two different necks, exactly. So
and there's some people that they're keeping around.
Yes.
And I've met Trump once before he became POTUS, and I was working a detail, and The way this guy thinks is off the charts. Uh, there, it's on a different level. And when you watch, like where he was at, it was a rally before the election, and they needed a lot of bodies. And when they start calling up guys that are retired, you know something's not setting right. And I watched this guy walk out of the uh, event, and they were getting ready to put him in the vehicle, and there were two guys that were holding up signs, basically, hard on our luck, yada yada. And I watched him walk, and the Secret Service about had a conniption fit and give these guys $100 each. And he said, just maybe today will be the day of the change of your luck. And you don't see people do that anymore. And I think the general consensus of everybody that I know that works in his inner circle and has, whether it's security briefers, some of the stories when they were coming out with, it's just like, and they tell me there's no validity to it. This whole thing was, if this pans out the way I'm 90% sure it's going to pan out, this is going to be the biggest. They're going to write a whole different section of history about what's going on today, and we're in the front seat of it, getting to watch the whole thing, even though we struggle with timelines and why isn't this happening and why isn't that happening. When it all starts to trickle out, people are going to sit back and just say, wow, how did I not see this and this and this? It was all right in front of me the whole time. I mean, just if you look at Biden's interview that he did for the electric Ford truck, every time he talked, his chin right here would divot in. Every time. I'm like, man, I have a hard time getting my head wrapped around the concept that could be somebody in a mask. But boy, every time something weird changes, makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely does. So to pick up the pace a little bit, guys, we definitely know who the commander-in-chief is, okay? That's no longer being dripped. We know several solid sources that have come out and said it. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Right.
Yep. We also know that the 20th was a significant date for a continuation, okay? We knew that continuation would continue if necessary. Just like Jeff was saying, it's a very fluid it's a very fluid information war right now, okay? And it's one of a kind because we've never had this kind of war before. But we're having it, okay? And the good thing is that people like 45 and Flynn and Putin and Chi and several other people that Jeff even mentioned earlier in these smaller areas and smaller countries have prepared for this over the past 4 years and beyond. Okay, because they wanted the evil gone, and they knew. In my eyes, they knew that Trump was anointed to get this done when he became the president, and that's the only way I know to describe the amount of ground I've seen this man that we're talking about, 45, cover and rectify so many things in a time frame with so little of power in the public sphere. Okay, every time he had, they thought they let power slip out to him, they abused him. Okay, They abused him. They drug him through the mud. They throwed another investigation at him. They said something that mudslinged him, whatever it took. All right. And he still endured all of that for what's getting ready to happen. Guys, when he says he's never seen anybody like this, I would tend to agree. I mean, you're talking to the man that when he goes into rooms, he bypasses the elites, okay, and goes right to the helping hands.
Right. Well,
the pictures of him holding the umbrellas for the Marines instead of the Marines holding the umbrellas for him. The pictures of him putting the Marines' hats back on in storms. The pictures of him, I mean, it's all out there. We just didn't see enough of it in the mainstream to know that those things were there to back up who he really is.
I mean, all you have to do is like the Marines that guard the White House. Normally, that's a primo duty. When you get that duty and you leave that station, you pretty much write your own ticket. When Trump was in office, there was a waiting list a mile long of people to apply for that job, just to stand at that door. I mean, that's pretty impressive. And most of the military, I would say 80 to 85%, that may be a weak number, are pro, and I don't even want to say Republican anymore, pro-Trump visionist. All they want is respect, because they take a lot out of their lives to make sure that everybody that's living here gets to live a certain lifestyle and a certain freedom that we readily take for granted.
Yep. So, I mean, Whiplash just released a news article, guys, from 1927 showing America was sold to 5 billionaires in 1927. The Rothschilds, Rockefellers, DuPonts, the Harrimans, and the Warburgs. Okay? This is an article from 1927. So you can only imagine how long this evil's been reigning over the United States as well as the rest of the earth.
Right. There was some other interesting information that came out of Maricopa County, where I want to say 200,000-ish ballots were fraudulent, where there was certain things that weren't in the ballot.
Guys, she went immediately to press conference with this today. The Arizona GOP chairwoman, Kelly Ward, goes nuclear and threatens arrest after the discovery of what's going on with these ballots. So it's getting thick, all right? But I want you to understand that Maricopa County is a distraction. They do not need it. They already have all the information they need. It's a distraction, guys. When Gene Decode comes on like he did yesterday and says the big thing they're trying to cover up right now is the squaring away of the rest of the aliens in the domes overseas. Okay?
And you, even if you can't wrap your head around that, all of the major news media outlets are now coming out with testimonies from Navy fighter pilots that have been out in the drink, flying off of aircraft carriers, and they have caught this stuff on video. And you start seeing the news media start to not leak, because I'm sure they're being instructed on what to put out. And you have to almost prepare yourself. And that's what they're trying to do. Now, do I believe I don't think we're the only ones. There's no doubt. But it's going to be, like I said, this is an exciting time. It really is.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Another thing that they don't want you to know about, which Richard Citizen journalist posted today, it appeared that a bunch of Capitol Police were arrested. Okay. They were escorted out. It wasn't a pretty escort, and it definitely wasn't an award ceremony of any kind. But they were escorted out and headed towards the White House.
You have to most people, the Capitol Police, it's not like a regular police force. They do a lot of discretionary stuff for these politicians. These guys, if you want to know the real story in a business, you ask the janitor. You want to know the real story on movement, who, what, when, where, who sees who, it's the Capitol Police. Just like with the Secret Service. The protection detail, they take the same oath, but they take their job a little bit different because they're protecting not the person, the office
right.
of the presidency.
Yeah, so some big time stuff is happening. Okay, can't go too deep today because there wasn't a lot of release of I won't say inside information, but researchable information that hadn't already been researched. Okay, outside of what's going on in the Capitol and the White House, those things are researchable, and there's more than 3 journalists, citizen journalists, reporting on it. So, kind of read between the lines a little bit with what they're sharing, guys, and dig around a little bit. I mean, Google Earth still works. Google Earth still works. Go to Google Earth during the day, and you'll see that the federal buildings in D.C., all of them are empty. It's a freaking ghost town, except for what is going on with the sudden movement again, with the military, with the Capitol Police happening, with the back and forth from the White House and the Capitol building today. Those are the things that we also need to keep an eye on. I mean, how many people that live in and around the CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia, were aware that it was raided in daylight?
And here, I don't know, Mike, if you've ever been to the CIA in the outside the campus region,
right?
But when you go to the CIA, there's three roads. You have your main entrance, and then as you're looking at the main entrance, on the left-hand side is the access road for the CIA police department, and on either side of that are $1 million homes. And when I first went to DC, I wanted to see this place. So I go out and I drive down the road and I'm trying to get a picture of it. And as I'm taking a picture, all of a sudden these little lights were going off to overexpose the film. This was back in 96, 97. It's in McLean, Virginia. Everybody calls it Langley, but it's actually McLean. And it sits pretty far back. I mean, you when you go into it, it looks like almost like an interstate toll booth. Like I said, you don't have to be able to believe everything. All you have to ask yourself are, where are all these people at? Because they got the most popular person ever, according to the votes, ever in the White House. And there isn't one of them moonwalking on the front lawn.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it leads to so much, guys. You talk about the $1 million homes. I had the privilege of putting cable in a lot of those homes back in when they first were putting them up. And we're talking about internet cable and TV cable. And guys, I really just said to make you aware of that. Here is something as big as the C_A um, operation center that was raided by the Marines. Okay, in broad daylight, and nobody was talking about it. Nobody. That's the kind of things that have gone on in front of us, and as long as it doesn't affect us, oh well. We cannot be that society anymore.
I just read a thing in the chat where somebody said call the White House.
Yes.
It's closed. So the White House, when I worked there, they have a thing called a chime line where people who know the number can call the number and you get right into the White House operator. And I just called it and no ring, no nothing. So that's interesting.
Well, with that being said, Jeff, we're going to probably call this early tonight. Is there anything pressing that you want to share with our audience?
Yeah. The only thing that really has definitively came out today is in Maricopa County, the routers.
Yes.
They were able to completely recover everything off the routers. And here's another thing. This tells me that the story that I heard shortly after the election, where they sent in a MARSOC group to get one Dominion Domino's pizza, my fault, machine. It was leaked out today that mysteriously, after somebody went in and looked at that machine, there was some Microsoft equipment that was not authorized to be in any of these machines, because when these machines go in, the election committee has a checklist. It has one Ethernet port, it has this chipset. Well, during this discovery motion, they found out that there was a piece of software or hardware that was a proprietary of Microsoft Corporation. Now you have the Bill Gates. So there's one link to how this outstanding citizen's involved.
Yes. And that's just one of many, guys. Just one of many. The more of us that show up into these town councils and stuff, guys, is the way we're going to combat that right now. Okay. So if you have the wherewithal to do that and can get with your state rep and find out when those things are happening, and also stay in their ear if things are happening that the majority of the people don't agree with. All right.
Absolutely.
So, keep moving on your local levels, keep praying to God, stay in the Word of God, and, keep up with the audit. It's very important, obviously, to a lot of us, but also, pay attention to things like what Jeff and I are sharing with you, and Doug and sharing with you, the things that Christians are saying. Guys, we are the news now. This is the only place you're going to get it and get it real.
Yeah, because we have nothing to gain.
That's right.
I'm kind of sticking my neck out there, but in the long run, good versus evil, we win. You're muted, Doug. There you go.
I actually didn't mean to add myself back. I was just going to tell you guys thanks. But yeah, I don't know. Did we mention that they had a missing man flyover? I know we did in the green room in DC today. Did we do it on the show? But they did have a missing man flyover today in DC. That seemed a little strange, but as you said, it was the continuity of government today. But like you said, not a better day to sneak in some other stuff.
Right.
You guys done a wonderful job. I guess I'm so hooked to the show that I watched in the background the whole time. I took 2 more Tylenols. My stomach calmed down a little bit. I just our listeners and our people in the chat, it is our show. You know, all we're doing, just like Mike said, is we're doing is just sharing the news that you won't get on TV. These are things you can go to DuckDuckGo and look up for yourself. And then sometimes we're privileged enough to have people like Jeff on that's got some solid intel, and Kirsten with some solid intel and stuff like that. I just, you know, we're just so blessed. And yes, guys and girls, I'm feeling pretty good, but there's no way I'm 100%. That's why I didn't stay on the stream. There's times I just can't sit in a chair that long. I have to get up and walk around. But everything's good. God is good to me. I'm up and going. Most people be laying in the bed, I think. Not one pain pill today, none. So that's good stuff, man. Jeff, I want to thank you. I'm waiting for Mike to come back on, or if he is, before we close out tonight. And like I said, I didn't mean to come back on. I was just going to say thanks in the green room. But let's see if Mike, sometimes he runs out and goes to the bathroom and comes right back. So we'll give him a second, guys. What do you guys think in the chat? Let us know what you guys think is next. DC is very active today with all the with all the Capitol Police in there. Not sure who they arrested. Mike, I didn't mean to come back on. I was going to just say thank you in the green room when y'all got done, and then I seen I was up there. You can tell I'm addicted to the show. I can't even leave it alone. I was going, why did it come? I wasn't going to go right back out, but I'm glad
you did come on, man, because my bladder needed relief.
but it's like this, and I just mentioned to Jeff and our listeners that the show is about the people in the chat, the people that or Frogganites. It's about good people that we're sharing information that you can find on DuckDuckGo. We are now the news. God has blessed us with the show to spread information. Also, guys, if you're looking for my Facebook page, if you go to the Telegram group, you'll get the new profile. There's been countermeasures made. We're right over the target. There'll be other measures made as well, too. We will not be taken down. They cannot stop what's coming. They just can't do it. If we just help one person tonight understand what's going on in the world, we feel like we've done our job. Know this is a place that you can come and share your intel, your ideas, and not be ridiculed, man. We love you, man. And like I said earlier in the show, I got all y'all's prayers. I let that come in the body. I absorbed that in my body, and I felt God when I was getting ready to go in the operating room. And I think that's why I'm going to heal so fast. It ain't no thinking to it. I know I'm going to heal that fast because God's got me, and our people praying for me. It amazes me. But I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Mike. I want to thank Jeff for coming on the show. God bless you guys. And we'll see you tomorrow night. I will be back. Thanks, guys.